talk through how you have trained your team up to be so dialed into gross profit. Also, maybe some of the comp plans that drive that,
Yeah.
business unit managers, and then some of the ways that they can drive gross profit dollars.
So that was the biggest probably failure of my leadership journey, was not developing leaders well at all. And that was, maybe 7 years ago. You kind of found yourself into a position where you were trying to do everything. So coming back, almost 3 years ago now, I knew what I had to do well was develop great leaders, because you can't do it by yourself. So what we focus on is typically, one, knowing your scorecard. So the first part starts with knowing your data, knowing your key KPIs, knowing your budget, and then we level it into specific, like you were mentioning, levers. So like, let's say, for example, we want to look at labor. So labor is high. Labor high doesn't mean that you cut your hours back. Labor high could be, what's our comp plan look like for that department? What does our billable efficiency look like? So how many tasks are we selling that are labor-driven versus material-driven? What's our staffing look like? So this is a big thing that was kind of a miss when I first came back. We were really overstaffed. And how you determine that is cost per day per tech, knowing that, and there's a couple different benchmarks that you can use. We typically like to run plumbing service right around 2 to 2.5 on average cost per tech per day. You can stretch that up a little bit higher. I'd feel pretty uncomfortable less than 1.8. HVAC's a little bit higher due to maintenance. Drains is a little bit higher due to the job scope. So there's a lot of different KPIs. I won't go to there.
And the point that I want to make on calls per tech per day, it's such an important metric to us. It's also the trigger of when it's appropriate to hire more.
100%. Absolutely. So it's really teaching them and showing them the reporting that they can see where they understand it. And I think that was the biggest thing, is saying, okay, here's where we want your labor and material to be at. Here's the 5 things that we can work on for each of those. Which one's going to make the most impact? And I think the key is having them decide, because it would be not as impactful if you're just going in and say, do this, 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 this. Some leaders might do well with it. Other leaders might not buy in or understand the why. Then you go down to the material. So developing those leaders to understand job costing, the importance of job costing. Knowing when it's appropriate to have what we call a high authority close, which is discounts. So allowing some discounts, but they're very controlled.
Rules around that, right?
Tons
Because
of rules.
it used to be, hey, we're slow, discount this, call in, and you get a call and you're like, the manager's like, yeah, we can discount that. Sure, discount it to, you were at 2,000, go to 1,000. Like,
Yeah.
where are we coming up with that? So knowing when it's appropriate to discount, like that's kind of like this moving scale we talk about. It's hard to do. I don't even know if we've perfected it yet, but you've generated a lot more rules and some consistency with the high authority close.
And once you started to see the other leaders buy into it, they're now able to teach their team that. I'll say, like, from our HVAC side, our manager Russell, he at the time was managing sales, and he did a great job of teaching his sales team to understand the margins.
Oh, yeah.
And that really added just massive amounts of control as far as how we're pricing jobs, how profitable the jobs were. And it was creating really healthy conversations, because now we weren't just talking about discounts. Now on that job, we're talking about what our exact material burden rate's going to be, which that probably isn't scalable. But needless to say, it's been very helpful. And, now we have a couple comfort advisors, and it's not quite, we have to have some barriers put in there from the price book standpoint, but that's kind of going a little bit too deep. So the first thing is teaching them the levers, coaching them through the scorecards, making sure they understand the data, and then they are tied, their bonus is tied to the gross profit dollars. I think that's an important...
Not gross margin.
Yeah, I think that's an important difference.